开始谈居士的基本守则 ，talk basic code of conduct for the Laity. So put our palms together. 要合掌。Homage to our founding teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to our founding teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to our founding teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to the Shila Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Homage to the Shila Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Homage to the Shila Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of years. And now I see and hear it, accept and uphold it, and I truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. We finished 3 chapters. I think we are almost still on chapter 4, but we'll finish this pretty soon. 我们前3章都讨论完了，现在第4章今天也应该很快就会讨论完。Then after that will be the how do you address yourself and others, and strictly do your practice every day. These are all very short chapters. 接下来就是称谓，是你自称，还有称呼人家怎么称呼，还有要做定课，这些都是很简短的章节，所以很快我们这个居士基本守则就很谈完。We have finished this basic code of conduct pretty soon. 那我们把上礼拜讨论的部分做一个复习。So we'll review what we talked about last week, talking about do not drink, smoke, intoxicants, the precept, 讲到这个酒戒。那强调是说，经律上虽然没有说抽烟犯戒，但是这个酒戒，这个烟应该是包括在酒戒里头。So even though the variant does not specifically state that the smoking violates the precept against taking intoxicants, but you should not smoke. The smoking should be included in taking intoxicants. 另外就是烟的味道呢，诸佛菩萨不愿意闻它，所以你在一个很清净的道场里头，又有人抽烟的话，这佛菩萨就跑掉了。So and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas don't like the odor of tobacco. So if you smoke in a Bodhimanda, the Bodhisattvas will run far away. 这个就很像那个五辛一样，五辛也类似的作用。So it's very similar to the consuming pungent plant. 另外讲到就是你抽鸦片烟的话，会有个鬼在那边，鸦片烟鬼；抽旱烟的话有旱烟鬼；抽洋烟的话洋烟鬼。这洋烟就是一般我们讲的香烟了。So the master said that if you smoke opium, there'll be an opium ghost around you. If you smoke pipe, there'll be pipe ghost. Smoke cigarettes, there'll be cigarette ghost. 那一般人是看不见，但是呢，有人能够看到鬼的人就知道。就只有看到这些鬼，所以这个抽烟不是一件好事情。So most people are not able to see the ghost. Right? But for those who can see the ghost, they know that smoking is something very auspicious. That's why should smoke, drink, 就不要抽烟。那这些鬼呢，其实就是帮助你上瘾，因为这些鬼他们本身也喜欢抽这些东西，他们本身也上了瘾，所以他发瘾的时候，他就让你也发瘾，那你就会抽了。你抽的话，在旁边也跟着抽。So these ghosts help you develop addiction. They are addicted to these things, opium, cigarettes. So when they have the urge to smoke these things, they'll cause you to have the same urge as well. So when you smoke, they'll be next to you and smoke together. 那接下来我们谈到这个受持五戒的重要。And we also talk about the importance of upholding the 5 precepts. 我们想就是持五戒呢的人可以得到人生。如果在尽做十善业的话，就可以当天人。If you uphold the 5 precepts, you can be reborn as a human, and if you further practice the 10 good deeds, you can be reborn as Deva. 又讲到这个犯邪的罪是这个果报是很重的。So talk about you commit sexual misconduct, the retribution is very heavy, very severe. 其实上面就讲了，你这个夫妇呢不应该马马虎虎随便的离婚，离婚以后又结婚。那这个因果律上呢，人死了以后，身体要分成2份，就是因为你跟2个人有性行为、有性的关系，所以到时候就要把你分成2份，一份给一个人。那就是会用锯子从头顶锯到脚底。So the master advised couples don't casually divorce and remarry. Then the retribution from the causality can be very serious. You will be divided into 2 halves if you marry twice. Okay, one half for either person you married. You got 2 married, and you have relation with two people, and your soul will be divided into 2 parts, one for each person. 那你如果结婚更多的话，就要分开更多份。你和100个人有关系的话，性行为的话，你把它分成100份。So if you have relation with more than 2 people, then you are divided as many parts as the relations you have. So if you have relation with 100 people, they will be divided into 100 parts. 那这里讲了结婚，这个其实不限于是结婚，应该是只要有性关系的话，就有这个果报，不是说只有结婚才会这样子，你不结婚就没事，不是这么回事。 I know you're talking about marriage here, but I think the retribution applies to any sexual relations without marriage. It's not just limited to married couple. It's unmarried and have sex relations, and it's the same retribution. 这个分了这么多份以后，有什么不好的地方？So what's the problem with divided into small parts? 你一旦分成很多很小份以后要把这个所有的这分的再集合起来的话，就很困难。The problem is when you are divided into so many parts, it's very difficult to get them together, to assemble them together. Okay. 也是这样子，所以讲到一世人生呢，万劫不复。你人生丢了以后，就变成比较小的灵，那这小灵很多比较多，要把它再拼回来，那不晓得要经过多久的时间。所以 once the human body is lost, you lose the human form, you will be you won't be able to recover in myriads of karmas. Because once you lose the human form and you got divided into many small parts, and you want to put them all together again, it's very difficult. And even you go through the myriads of karmas, you still cannot do that. So it's better cherish the human form. 所以我们要珍惜我们这个人生，这个人生很麻烦。然后我们讲到这个不要错过受五戒的机会。So talking about that, don't miss the opportunity to receive the 5 precepts. 尤其最近这2年的，因为新冠肺炎的关系，所以道场里头没有在传戒，所以你要受戒的人都没有办法受。So I think we all experienced that because of pandemic, that the DRBA branches have not transmitted 5 precepts, 3 virtue 5 precepts since the pandemic started. So even if you want to receive the 5 precepts, you have no chance. So when we start to transmit the precept again, you better grab that opportunity. 将来我们开始在传的时候，你要受戒的人要不要错过那个机会。尤其你不晓得是不是有新的变种，像现在这个奥密克戎这个变种来，本来很可能我们明年春天会开放的，现在情形也不晓得会怎么样。Particularly, you don't know what variants will come out. I think originally we were very hopeful that the CCTV will be reopened next spring, but now because of the new variants, so nobody knows when we'll be able to reopen. Anyway, 那你受戒的时候，5戒你不需要5戒前受，一条戒就是1条戒都可以。So when you read the 5 precepts, you don't need to receive all of them, and even 1 precept will do. 那当然，你受戒受越多条戒的话，对你越好。Of course, the more precept you receive, the better off you'll be, because you have more protectors to protect your safety. 那因为你受戒受多的话，就更多的护戒神来保护着你的安全。Okay, so it's pretty much that. 那这个就是我们上次谈到的地方。So we stop here. Yes, last week. Now that's the new material. 那我们现在这个从上礼拜没有谈过。那你要受戒，你必须向出家人去求戒，你不能够从在家人那里去受戒。So if you want to receive the precepts, you need to request from monastics, not from laity. 这个诸恶莫作，众善奉行，这是戒律的一个广泛的这个定义。So, do no evil, practice all good. This is one form of precept. Sutra, more brief form. 那这个传戒呢，主要是传给你的戒体。上文这边讲就是说，你这个传给你戒体的人，一定要是比丘。So, when you receive the precept, it's involved to receive the essence of precept, or you call the precept substance. Okay? And this can only be done by bishops. That's what the Venerable Master said. 所以呢，在法种你要传戒都是比丘尼都不能传的，因为上人这么说，所以比丘尼都不传戒的，都要等到比丘。And because the master's instruction like that, so the nuns, the bhikshunis, and DRBA, they don't transmit precepts. They have to invite bishops to come to transmit the precepts. 一个问题就是说你受了戒，好像你的就没有自由，对不对？你的自由就被剥夺了，因为你不能够这个，不能杀，不能盗，不能邪言，不能够妄语，不能够饮酒，你的自由就被限制了。So some people may think that when after you receive precepts, your freedom got restricted because you're not supposed to kill, not supposed to drink, to steal, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and no taking intoxicants, right? So it reduces your freedom. Is that really true that not receive the precepts is true freedom? 那是不是你不受戒，是不是真的就自由？他们讲说，你以为不受戒是自由呢，但是却很容易堕到地狱去。那真是自由，很容易跑到地狱去那个自由。The master said that even though it looks like not receiving the precept is you have freedom, but it's very easy for you to fall into the hells that way. And say this is true freedom, the freedom of easily going to the hells. 这种自由当然不是我们要的自由，你很容易堕到地狱那种自由，没有人要的。So I don't think anyone want this type of freedom. 这边去讲说，你如果受戒的话，有戒来支持你，就不容易堕地狱，即使堕地狱也很快的出来。So after receiving the precepts, you have the precept to support you. So you won't be that easy to fall into the hells. And even if you fall into the hells, you will be able to get out quickly. 上文这边讲到这个戒行啊、戒恨、戒相、戒法、戒体，我们一般谈到的是戒体，这些没有说一定要去了解那么多，So the master talking about the 4 attributes of precepts, the conduct, attributes, dharma, and the essence. We mainly talk about essence. The other 3, it's okay, it's not that important, it's just phrases. 那主要就是说，你受了戒以后，有戒体，戒体的功用是会提醒你，当你要犯戒的时候，戒体会提醒你，警告你，叫你不要犯。So the essence of precept will prevent you from breaking precepts. When you are about to break the precepts, the essence of precept will remind you, to warn you, so that you'll stop committing, breaking the precept. This 戒体这个当然是没有形的，但是它就是在你的，可以说是在你的80田里头，到时候它就会浮出来提醒你。So the essence of precept, of course, is invisible to ordinary people. It's probably hidden in your deep consciousness. But when it's time, it'll emerge and remind you to uphold the precept. 那所以这个我们讲你受戒很要紧的就是你要得到戒体。你没有得到戒体的话，你根本没有得到戒，就没有得戒。That's why we say that to receive the precepts, you need to receive the essence of precept. If you don't receive the essence of precept, then you don't really have the precept with you, actually. 所以我前面讲到有护戒神，护戒神它和这个犯戒没有关系，护戒神是在保护你的安全，就是保镖一样。但是戒体是在帮助你好好的持戒。And early on, we talk about the precept and protecting precept protecting spirits, and that actually is not protect the precepts, protect preceptees, that protect you, your safety. So those spirits won't stop you from making mistake, breaking precepts. It's only the essence of precept. That's the function of the essence of precept. 你如果上面讲，你如果听其自由不受戒呢，以后堕地狱里头呢，什么时候才能出来？没有人能够担保。So if you prefer to be free and not take the precepts, then later on when you fall into the hells, nobody knows when you'll be able to get out the hell. 众生受佛戒即入诸佛位，这个是从《梵满经》的菩萨戒里头拿出来的。This saying that once you have received the precepts, you enter the presence of the Buddha. This is taken from the Brahmanet Bodhisattva Precept， 就说你受了戒以后呢，就等于是进到了佛的那个位置一样，等于是已经是准备要成佛了 ，OK， 已经等于是已经先注册了，保留的一个位置给你。So after you have received the precepts, it's almost like there's a seat, a seat reserved for you to become a Buddha. 有的人觉得学佛法呢，越学越不方便，越学越不自由，因为这个也不能做，那个也不能做。但是你不学佛法的呢，那不自由是在后面。那现在呢，这个不自由是你学佛法不自由是现在。Some people feel that the more they study the Buddha Dharma, the less convenient it is for them, and the less freedom they have. Okay? So you have the precept, you are not supposed to do that, and things like this. So you feel that you are less free than before. But, but the master said that if you don't study the Dharma, you will lack freedom in the future. Okay? And in contrast, those who study Dharma lack freedom now. So now you have less freedom, but in the future, you have no problem. And if you don't study the Dharma, you will lack freedom in the future. For example, you like fall into the hells, you don't have freedom there at all, right? 像你如果堕到地狱去以后，你那边根本一点自由都没有，就是将来没有自由。学佛法的话是善根增长的时候，不学佛法呢是业障增长，是善根的业障。那业障增长呢，那个不自由是永远的不自由。So you study the Dharma, your roots of goodness will grow. So your roots of goodness will grow. And if you do not study the Dharma, your karmic hindrances will grow. So it's very different. Then when your karmic hindrance grow, the result is your lack of freedom. The lack of freedom will last forever. So the next topic is what is pure precepts. This may not be the best translation. 接下来就说什么是境界。这个净呢，什么意思？就不染污，也就是清净，丝毫的染污都没有。上面就讲这种净是一念不生，一念不生为之净，净念。So what does pure mean? Pure means not a side of defilement, free of thought, and purified thought. So here they said, without even a slight bit of defilement. With this kind of purity, not even a single thought arises. It's called a pure thought. 那讲的具体一点呢，就是说，你不是只有在身体上头持戒，比如说你不杀生，你没有去动手去杀生， 但是你心里头常常不满意人或者发脾气，那都是犯的杀戒。Okay? So if you only uphold precept externally, like you don't kill, but in your mind you are not happy, angry with people, then you are still violating the precept against killing. 你对人发脾气，那是一种嗔恨心，那这种就有可能会造成一种杀业出来，就是像有一个杀心一样。当然你不能够有杀心，因为杀心的话就直接不清净。上面这边讲，即使你发了脾气，那都不是持戒清净。Of course, you should not have the intent to kill, right? The killing and mention thought of killing. But the master said further, even if you shouldn't have a temper. If you get mad, then you are still breaking the precept against the killing. 讲到偷呢，你不必真正的去偷，心里头羡慕人家的财物或者技能，妒忌人呢，这个都是犯的盗戒。So regarding to stealing, it's not just limited to that you actually steal something. If you are envious of other people's wealth or talents, jealous of the people, then you are violating the precept against stealing. 你没有去偷人家东西，但是你羡慕人家的财物，或者他的能力，那你妒忌人，妒忌人，那都是犯的盗戒。这个是很细微的。一般你当然不能有偷盗的心。上面讲了，这个不光是说没有偷盗心，你光羡慕人家的东西，都不能，都不算持戒清净。So of course you should not steal, right? But even if, and you shouldn't have the intention of the mind of stealing, thought of stealing. But not only that, you are envious about other people's wealth or talents, then you are still violating this precept against stealing. Very subtle. 那么你这个羡慕人家的东西，你再进一步的话，就会有那种去偷的心。你喜欢人家的东西，你自己没有，那在下一步的进展的话，就很可能你会有起的盗心。Of course, if you envious other people's stuff, the next step, if it keep developing, is going to have a thought of stealing. Then that pretty clear that's not observe the father precept purely. So this you can say that this is a precursor for the thoughts of stealing. So if you are satisfied, you are not envious to other people's stuff, then you won't have the thoughts of stealing won't arise. Right? 当然，你如果不去羡慕人家的东西的话，你自然不会有那个盗心出来。所以这个是在等于起盗心之前的前一步，就是你能够知足，而不去羡慕人家的东西，那自然就不会有盗心产生出来。那讲到人家的能力呢， 这个你羡慕人家的能力，那会产生那个妒忌心的。这个也类似像你羡慕人家的财物一样。所以上人讲说，你这个其实妒忌人家呢，也算是犯得到。You are jealous of people's talents, then it's very similar to that. You're jealous of, envious of other people's stuff. So the master said this: you are jealous. You jealous to other people, then you also break the precept against stealing. 那讲到邪淫呢，就是你打的妄想，那都是不清净。So regarding to sexual misconduct, if you keep thinking about the opposite sex or anyone you love, then you violate this precept. 所以这边结论就是说你，境界就是说你非常干干净净的，一点染污的念头也没有，那才是境界。So to uphold the precept purely means being clean and pure in all aspects, without even the slightest defiled thought. Only then is that called upholding the precept purely. Can it be called like this? 就是所以这个讲到就是念头了。你的心念如果一染污的话，那就不是持戒清净。So talking about your even the subtlest thoughts, if you have any defiled thoughts, then you are not upholding the precept purely. 这个有所谓的诸恶莫作，众善奉行，自净其意。这是应该是迦摄佛的戒经，就是你诸恶莫作，众善奉行，这个都是身体方面的、外面的。那自净其意，就是现在上人讲的这个，你的心念，你的心要很清净，那样才是你持戒真的是清净。So the verse said that do no evil, that is so good, purify your mind. And this is the teaching of all the Buddhas. This actually is a precept sutra of the Kashyapa, the Kashyapa Buddha. So do no evil, practice so good. These are just your bodily action, right? And purify your mind. That's talking about your mind. And that's exactly what the Venerable Master is talking about here. Only after you keep your mind pure, then you uphold the precept purely. Right? 这个五戒就谈到这边。So the 5 precepts, the chapter 4, and here. The next is chapter 5, talking about how you address yourself and others. 接下来就是称谓的问题，你怎么自己称自己，怎么样称呼其他人？那一般我们都会讲到居士，对不对？那居士呢，他们这边讲的那个居家之士，在家相信佛法的人，手持五戒，奉行实在人，都叫居士。 The translation for the cultivator, I'm not sure whether this is the best translation. The Chinese use these two characters. Ji has the meaning of the dwelling, abiding. Shi is a person. Actually, this is a person. So of course, it's talking about laity and either the practitioner or the cultivator. I'm not sure with how to really best translate that into English. And that's the definition of this 居士. When temporary, we use lay cultivators, refers to those who live at home, just they are still in their life. And the Buddhist uphold the 5 precepts, practice the 10 good deeds. 上面接下来讲的这个居士是一个称呼啊，这个称呼是要旁人称自己的，不是自己称自己的居士。So lay cultivator is a title, and it's a title that others use to address you. You are not supposed to address yourself as a lay cultivator. 换句话说，这个居士其实是一个尊称，就是你不能够尊称自己，对不对？ And in other words, the lay cultivator, if this is a right translation, it's a respect or title, it's a respectful title. And you use that to address other people, not to address yourself. 就像我们一般，在师徒也讲说的，像你称别人的父亲，你会讲令尊，对不对？那你不能够称自己的父亲叫令尊的，类似的东西。The Chinese we have this kind of title to call people's parents, and it's a respectful way to address other people's parents, and you don't use that to address your own parents. Very similar to this. 但是一般人我们对这个居士就不会认为是一个尊称，当然是一个普通的名词，等于就是说在家人，等于是这样子的看法。So most people don't know this is a respectful title. They'll just take it just like a lay person, treat it like a lay person. So that's why the master is talking about that. 就是这样的，所以上人在强调这个。那像这个我们一般用的先生，这也用的很广泛用的。这个上人说，这个先生呢，这也是别人称你的，你称别人称先生，你不应该自己称自己是先生，你不能称说你是李先生、刘先生、张先生，对，你是称对方是李先生、陈先生，而不是你自称自己是李先生。So the master is talking about this, the Chinese先生. Usually he was talking about Mr. And I'm not sure whether he said even like 先生 is a respectful way to address other people. Mr. I'm not sure whether it's a respectful way to address people. So he said that this is a title that other people used to address you, or you used to address other people. But it's not, you don't use it to call yourself, use this. I'm not sure whether this is true for Mr. Anyway. 当然，继续讲说，这个先生是有学问的人，或者年高有德的人， 或者是世间的经历丰富，这都成为先生。有学问的人，年高有德，经验丰富。So the Chinese Mister,先生, refer to someone who is full of knowledge, senior in age, and virtuous, rich in worldly experience. OK， 那先生这两个字，其实你仔细去看一看，先是早，对不对？比你早生下来的，所以它的原意是年纪比你大的人，你叫做先生呢，你是后生，对，他是先生。That's two characters actually. That's the second character, sen is birth, your birthday, birth. Sen is before, means this person was born before you. So he is more senior than you. So this is the original meaning. 那先生也用在中国古代也用先生来称呼老师啊。日本人现在都还是称呼老师作为先生，就是先生。So this term, I think, in the past in China used to address teacher. Now we don't really use that much, but Japanese still use this to address teacher. They say that sensei is just 先生。那这年高有德，那么就是年纪比较大的，因为先生本身就是年纪比你大的。那世间的经历丰富，年长的人一般就是经历就比较丰富。所以这个先生，现在的人大概也没有把这个当作是一个尊称了，但是原来是一个尊称。So this term 先生 or I'm not sure whether Mr. is the best translation, but that's how in English we call Mr. Right? And the meaning of 先生 born earlier, born before you, is full of knowledge, okay, and more older than you, virtuous. 那上人就在讲说，这个同样的，这个居士和先生是一样，这个不能够自称居士。So the master said that you're not supposed to call yourself as 居士 the practitioner or the cultivator. 那接下来他讲的居士呢，要什么条件？要有种种的美德，才够居士的称谓。你如果没有种种美德的话，根本就不够居士这个名字。所以这是一个美称，对，很好的称呼，称赞。The practitioner or 居士 is a title that denotes you have many kinds of virtue. You are virtuous. So this, of course, is a respectful way to address this person. And if you don't have such virtues, you are not qualified to have such a title. And of course, you don't call yourself, use 居士 to call yourself. 所以你也不能够自己尊称自己啊，那个叫居士。同样的，这个是出家人，就是法师，这个出家人也不能够自称是法师。This is talking about the monastic. We are not supposed to call ourselves Dhamma Master so and so. 另外就是讲到这个在家人不能够直接叫出家人的名号， then something about that. You are not supposed to call monastic just by their names. 上面这边讲的是一个例子，是他们有个弟子出家了，那上人就对其他弟子讲说：你们现在要称他是某某法师，而不应该就是叫他的某某这样子。So the masters instructed the disciples. One of his disciples has become a monk or nun. Then he said to the other disciples, so from now on, you're not supposed to just call his name. You have to add the Dharma Master, so and so, instead of just call his name. 那对古来的祖师大德，当然也不能够直接称名，要尊称。Of course, you're not supposed to call the patriarchs or the virtuous ones just by their name. Okay? 这个我想对中国人而言，中国人应该不会这样子做。是西方人，他们往往就是直接只称名，没有加上法师啊这样子。I think that's probably for Chinese Asian, probably nobody will just call the monastic name. We'll usually add a title. But for Americans, Westerners, that happen a lot. Even these days, we can still hear that the American disciples call the monastic just by name. 那其实现在我们还可以听到这个西方人他们称呼出家人，他不会加上法师的达玛师或什么样，不是每一个都会这样子，有的就是直接称那个名。那有一个原因就是其实他们觉得这样子比较亲切，所以他们就不加上一个法师这个态度下去，这个称谓下去。Because what I heard was that they think without adding title, it's thinking they are closer friends. Instead of when you add a title, it becomes the distance between people is kind of getting farther. But still, I think the master said very clearly, you are not supposed to do that. 当然，上人这边讲得很清楚，你是不能够这样子做的。我们继续强调，就是说这个法名呢或法号，是给做师父的人叫的，或者是其他的大德高僧、有老资格的人可以叫。普通一般人的话，是不可以称出家人的法名或者这个别号，就是法号。So the Dharma name itself is just meant to be used by the teachers to address their disciples or eminent monks, senior monastics. Okay. And the ordinary people must not address monastic by their Dharma name or other names. 这个别号就是我们一般你出家打了皈依以后，你就会有一个法名，所以相信大家都有法名。那你如果出了家以后呢，会另外有一个号别号出来。And after you receive the 3 refuges, you have a Dharma name, right? once you become a monastic, you have another name. 你像上人在的时候，他的弟子都是果字辈，然后出家以后就变成恒字辈，这是法号。For example, like those who took refuge and when the master start with 果 this for that. Okay? But once you become a monastic, become a hen, and this and that, right? So and now you after the master enter the mana, the Dhamma start with Qin. I think many of you with Qin. And after you become a monk, now become Jin. Like myself is Jin Yong, right? The Jin. 那上人缘起以后呢，这一代法名就是亲字辈。我想很多人都是亲什么。出家了以后就是近字辈，像我本人就是金勇，就是这样就讲的这个法号。那这边讲的就是说，你对出家人呢不能够直接，好比说我不能称我叫很金勇，你必须加个好像法师啊，或者加个师下去，这样子，这个意思是这样。So what it means here is that, for example, you not supposed to address me, just call my ordained name, Jin Yong. You had to add the Dhamma Master Jin Yong or Master Jin Yong, something like this. This is what the Master mean here. 那这边有一个名称叫大德，这个大德呢什么意思？很多人并不了解。So there's another term called literally means this great virtue, great virtue. This is to address a person, but most people don't really understand what this means. 很多人就会把这个当作是有德行的人，你都可以称大德。但是你去看原来的意思的话，这个大德原来是称佛，那在戒律里头呢只是称比丘啊，所以你不能够用这个大德来称呼在家人的。But if you study this carefully, the Sanskrit name is Bhadana. This originally is a title honor of Buddha. And in the Vinaya, in the precepts, it's applied to monks only. So you're not supposed to use this, probably we translate a greatly virtuous one, to address lay people. 那台湾有个佛教的团体，他们的医院，他这个护士称呼这些病人都是称某某大德，他这边叫的是某大德，某大德，这个其实很不如法。对，台湾there's a Buddhist organization. They have several hospitals, and the nurse, the staff, will call patients so and so great virtuous one, and they use this term to address patient instead of Mr. or Mrs. They use a great virtue one, great virtue, which is not right. Okay, so this is so much for this chapter, actually. So this chapter 5 is very short, just talking about how you address people, address yourself. The important thing is you don't address yourself like 居士. So 那这个主要就是讲到这个，你不能够用居士称呼自己的，因为上面讲了这个，有的人他名片上头都是印了某某居士，但是这自称是居士，上面讲说这个是很不恰当的，So that, and of course you can address other people. 居士 okay. Anyway, do you have questions so far?
Many.
Many. Maybe we can answer some of the questions. 那我们现在可以回答一些问题了。从哪一个开始？
从8:28。
8:28。什么名字？
北京东吴。
我这里是8:31。稍等一下，
有时候中医大夫会在中草药处方里配动物类的药，我们佛弟子是不是不能用？
那你持戒持的精进到什么程度啊？你如果是要持戒清净的话，当然是避免用这个。他这个医师中医师，他如果懂得佛法的话，他是可以有取代药的，不是一定要用动物的药的那味药这样子。This is a question about the herb medicine. The Chinese doctors sometimes will add some animal ingredient into the herb medicine. And of course, if you want to uphold the precept purely, you don't want to take it. If the doctor is a Buddhist, I think she will be able to find substitute. 你严格讲起来，你当然就表面上你是没有犯戒的，因为你没有去杀嘛，对不对？你也没有那个杀心，但是你还是你讲到我们今天讲到那个持戒清净，你就不够清净，能够避免还是避免的。If you can avoid that, that will be best. The next question.
The next. 特别是里面问，请问小孩子、小朋友从几岁开始可以受5戒或者其中1戒？
受戒应该是没有年龄的限制，但是没有最低年龄。但是问题就是说，你受了戒以后，他小的时候也许可以持戒清净，但是长大以后，他有办法继续持，这是一个问题，这要小心的，就是，当然一个补救的方式就是他长大以后，他觉得他没有办法持的话，他可以舍戒。问题是他懂不懂舍戒？他如果不懂舍戒的话，他如果犯重的话，那就很麻烦。所以小孩子还是要谨慎。The question here is that what age of kids can receive 5 precepts, or even just 1 precept? As far as I know, there's no minimum age. Okay, but you have to be careful because the kids are young, they can probably uphold the precept well. But once they grow up, they may not able to uphold the precept. And if they break the precepts, but commit heavy offense, then that can be very serious. Of course, they can always renounce precept if they don't think they're able to uphold it anymore. But you have to make sure they know that they can renounce precept. If they don't renounce the precept and still then commit the offenses, then it's not a good thing. 所以这个是做父母的要留意的问题。那你如果留意到他没有办法持戒的时候，你就跟他讲说你要舍戒，要不然的话，小孩子也不懂，对不对？他甚至他受戒的时候，他根本还不晓得，他长大以后他还不晓得他自己受了戒，就会有这个问题。So as parents, you have to watch out, and the kids may not even know that he or she has received the precept if they were pretty young to start with. 尤其是那个第三条戒，因为现在的年轻人，他们很多人就没有结婚就住在一起。所以那条戒到长大以后是很难吃的。你要吃得清净的话，那条戒是很困难。Particularly the third precept, the sexual misconduct. I think people know that these days many young people they just live together without getting married, right? And that can be a violation of the precept. So be very careful about it. That I know that the Reverend Shuri used to not let young people to receive that precept because he knew that they won't be able to uphold it. Okay. 我了解，就是司法是从前他的做法就是他不让那个未成年人去受第三条戒，就是不邪淫戒。因为他晓得他们很可能没有办法吃的。这婚前的关系忏悔，应该是和一般的犯人戒的忏悔方式是一样的，但是像我们在这边没有办法详细的解释。之前我们有谈过一些忏悔的问题，你如果回去，不晓得你在中国的话，你没有办法看到 YouTube，因为我们这些旧的那个从前的上课的录影都在 YouTube 上的。So this is talking about premarital relation. How do you repent? This process is not an easy thing. We did talk about repentance in general before. And if you have access to YouTube, you can go to the old lectures, and it's all kept in the YouTube. 下一个云达，你念一念好了。
然后他说，学佛之前离婚后又结婚了，怎么补救以后不被分割之苦？
你就是只好诚心忏悔了。就诚心忏悔，因为之前不晓得嘛。只好这样子咯。So the question is that before studying Buddhism, Buddha Dharma, and got divorced and remarried again. So how can she or he avoid being cut into half in the future? I don't know the really effective way. I think the only thing you can do is just repent sincerely. Because you don't know that kind of consequence. So you haven't studied Buddhism, that. Okay.
可以加一句吗？我可以加一句。
可以啊，老实一点。
另一种办法就是念佛往生西方极乐世界。在那里就会处理三界，不再轮回。
怕的是往生不了啊。Next one. Can you read it in English?
Yes. Yeah. Can laity address others, or other Dharma friends by their Dharma name?
你对其他的当然其实是不希望我们这样做，但是我们都是这样做的，对不对？Let's talking about you address another lay person, their Dharma name. From what we learned today, the master said that the Dharma name is reserved for the teachers. But we have been very used to call people's Dharma name. So I don't think it's that serious. The master primarily is talking about that you address a monastic, you have to add a title, like a Dharma master, that you cannot just call him so and so. 那我想上人主要强调就是说，你在称呼出家人的时候，你不能够直接称他们的名字、他们的法名或者法号，你必须要加上那个他的尊称，就是法师啦之类这样子。Next one, how can we purify our mind in a dream? You have to have a super samadhi, and you are not in a dream, but you are not in a dream. You are very clear. Then of course you can purify your mind, right? But I think most people are not able to do that. It's in a dream you don't have control, and try to purify your mind when you are awake first. If you can purify your mind when you are awake, then the next step you can do that in a dream.
受持不妄语戒，那么 可不可以工作中说一些小谎，晚上回去再忏悔？因为有时候工作上说一点谎言，以便让别人干活，为了工作顺利开展。
最好是不要打这个妄语的，因为你这个虽然说让工作顺利发展，但是迟早对方会了解，会知道你打妄语啊。那以后你讲话，人家不会完全相信。所以，如果你能够都不打妄语的话，你讲出来的话，人家会100%的相信。而且你打了妄语就犯戒了嘛，对不对？你犯戒在忏悔，那你能够保证你忏悔的清净吗？So this is the question that at work, sometimes you just use some kind of trivial lies so that things can work better, more convenient way. My opinion is better not to do that, because sooner or later people know that you lied to them. Then they won't trust you 100% anymore. And that doesn't really help you. If you are always honest, they'll trust you 100%. Besides, after that you tell lies, then you repent in the evening. You're not for sure that you can repent you can repent that really well. So it's better not. 发明的问题是，
对，现在就是对，需要读吗？
不用，我看，因为太极拳，我想这个没有冲突吧？你受了三规五戒，学太极不是不好的东西啊。其实上人有一阵子他是很鼓励他的弟子念太极的。你像到现在十法师他来练习太极，上人弟子里头很多人在念太极的。So there's a question talking about that after taking the 5 precepts, can you study Tai Chi? I don't think that's a problem. Actually, the Venerable Master encouraged people, his disciples, to practice Tai Chi. Tai Chi is a type of exercise. You can focus your mind and also help your physical body regulate. 太极拳它其实也是在训练你的专心啊，然后调节身心。我是建议你，如果性子很急的人，应该去学太极。If you always want to rush, Tai Chi is a good exercise to learn because you have to slow down. They will help you. Okay? There are people who anything is in a rush, and that practice Tai Chi will help you to slow down. Okay. 还有什么？
还有这一个，我说，请问法师，自己已经吃素，但还需要给家人做荤菜，这也是犯杀戒吗？应如何做？
虽然没有去杀，但是你还是跟这些动物结了缘在那里啊，所以能够避免当然是最好是避免，但是你如果是替家人做的话，那往往也是没有办法的事情。那有个好方法就是说你能够做一手好的素菜的话，那家里的人喜欢吃素菜，你煮的素菜的话，那你就不用去煮荤菜了，是不是？所以，好好的学煮素食的话，就会帮助你解决这个问题。
根据刚才还有接续的问题。
皈依三宝以后，是不是不可以再皈依外道？
他是下面还有解释，他的意思，他说太极拳是外道吗？他是指这个。
那你这样的话，你就是说什么东西都是外道了，对？学科学也是外道，心外求法都是外道。这个外道不是这样子定义的啦。你在受戒的时候，当然就不能够皈依外道邪戒、外道典籍这个东西。但是你太极拳，我不觉得是属于那一类的，它其实是相辅相成的。那你如果担心它是外道，你就不要学了。You break precept in a dream, that's not breaking precept, okay? It's because you don't have intention to break precept. You don't have control in a dream. Okay, I think it's 9:30 already. It's just a quick announcement for Sunday's event. I don't know whether people know this, talk about this on Sunday. 很快的，我觉得下礼拜天，接下来2个礼拜，请了2位物理学家来和大家谈谈天文地理。下礼拜天是谈到地球的水循环。So next Sunday, this is a physics, earth science, scientist going talking about the Earth's water cycle. This, of course, has relation with the climate change, and also is related to earthquake. 这个题目呢，当然和我们的环境，就是现在的地球的暖化等等有关系的。那也和地震也有关系。这个梁元者呢现在是在台湾的中央研究院的杰出研究员。This Dr. Untitled is a distinguished researcher in the Academia Sinica. Right? Actually, he is my college classmate. 赵宏博士其实是我大学的同班同学。一个有兴趣、有趣的问题就是说，我这给大家礼拜天看过，这是我们佛教里头那个世界观，这个是个须弥山，须弥山在这边。 那这四大步骤当然，那下面呢有个地轮、经轮，这个都是固体的东西，就像我们地球，对不对？都是地壳很坚硬的。那佛教里头讲，接下来这个水轮呢，这个很难思议说这个有水的成分在地壳下面，但是现在的科学家是发现地壳下面有水。So this is you can say this is the Buddhist view of the world. This is Mount Sumeru. And underneath the earth, this is the earth wheel, the earth wheel, gold wheel. These are all solid, right? Like the crust, the earth's crust is all solid. Interesting notice there's a water wheel underneath gold wheel. Okay, it's hard to imagine that underneath the earth's crust there is the water. But recently, the scientists actually found out there is water, plenty of water. This is a transition zone. This I think probably the Dr. Zhao will talk about this. 这边有一个过渡的一个zone，这边有不少的水，So I think we'll learn more on Sunday. 那这几天应该可以听到更多的最新的科学的研究。Okay, so we'll stop here and dedicate merit. 那我们接下来是来回向。And when the we fall together in the land of grace. Respect the venerable master. What is it? 戒律的